Hey guys, today I'm going to be installing one of these rear sliding windows in the back of a RAM ProMaster 1500. Here's everything that I'll be using. Have the window itself, obviously. Going to need a jigsaw with some metal bits to cut out the window. I got a hammer and a pry bar. That's going to be used to pull off this pillar that sort of sits in the middle. You can see that here from doing it on this van. Butyl tape to seal the window. Got a drill and some bits to start a pilot hole, and also the drill is going to be used for the hardware to mount the bracket, keep the window in place. Plastic and tape, I just use garbage bags. That's going to be to collect the metal filings on this side and protect the outside of the van. And a Sharpie to trace the pattern of the window on the interior of the van so you know where to cut. I think that's it. You can add ear protection, gloves, and sealant if you wish. But I'm going to be showing you how to do it with this stuff today. The first thing I'm going to be doing is removing this part. So you can see it's tacked onto the van here, 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 and here, and then it's adhered to the outside panel of the van using this adhesive here. So the strategy is to get a pry bar in and with a hammer sort of break it away at those 4 points of contact. And then if you're lucky, you can just pull it off really easily from the side. When that's done, I set up some plastic here on the inside to catch the metal filings as they fall down when you're cutting the hole for the window. And I also set up some plastic on the outside here too, because what happens is when you cut the hole for the window and the metal panel falls away from you outside of the van, if you don't have any protection here, it can fall around and the sharp edge can hit the side of the van and scratch your paint or your clear coat. It's not a good situation, so I just put this here too. The windows I use, and most of these windows have these rear mounting brackets that I use as a stencil to trace out the shape of the hole I want to cut. I measure 7.5 inches away from the back, 4 inches from the top, and I put small dots all the way around, and then I just tape this on and line it up, and then trace it out with a Sharpie. When that's done, the next step is to drill a pilot hole for your jigsaw blade. I always try to drill the pilot hole sort of in the middle of the piece and then come up with the blade, because this part of the van, the sheet metal, is like really sensitive to dents and bending, and if you make a mistake towards the outside edge and crease or dent the metal up here, you're going to see it on the outside of the van. So you want to be really careful not to make any dents, make any creases, or otherwise warp that sheet metal so that it creates a noticeable mark from the outside. So I just start somewhere in the middle. All right, now it's time for the scary part, to cut the hole. You want to make sure that before you cut anything, everything is the right size. So I like to take the window itself, put it up against the line I have traced out, just make sure that everything is going to fit okay. It does look good, because what you can do if you're not paying attention is trace the outside edge of the bracket. What I mean by that is, here's the inside edge of the bracket, and then there's an outside edge. The hole is going to be cut to the inside edge so that the outside edge overlaps the metal and holds it in place. If you make a cut and trace the outside edge of this bracket, you're going to have problems. So just want to make sure one last time, do a quick double check before you start cutting. These are the blades that I use, and I always make sure that I use a fresh blade every time I'm cutting metal. Maybe that's overkill, but I really don't want to be cutting using a dull blade. You want to make sure that, I think they say you want at least 24 teeth per inch when cutting this size of metal. If your teeth are farther apart, let's see if I have an example here. If you use something like this where your teeth are farther apart, it can bite on the metal and cause a lot of vibration, which can warp and dent this. I've had that happen before. It's not a good situation, so you want to make sure you're using the adequate number of teeth per inch for the blade. All right, let's do it. Slow and steady. what I'll do is take the window and fit it inside the hole. Make sure, first of all, it fits, but also make sure that there's kind of a little bit of play, because what you're going to want to do is measure this distance, make sure they're absolutely identical to the 1/16 of an inch, and then mount it firm. So it looks like everything turned out pretty well. Maybe that'll be a little bit straighter like that, but whatever the case, we'll figure it out later. So now I'm going to apply the butyl tape to the edges of the cut, and I usually try to do it as continuously as I can. The idea is just to put it over the edge like this, but also you don't want to have too much of this on the outside, because as you pull the bracket in on the inside and as this compresses, it's going to squeeze out, and you don't want it to squeeze beyond the borders of the window on the outside. So I'm going to keep doing this and go all the way around, and that's it. Easy. All right, the butyl tape is on, so I'm going to take the window, put it back in place, and then I'm going to go on the inside. There we go. And I'm going to fit the bracket on the back and screw it in with the hardware. But before I screw the hardware down too tight, again, I'm just going to make sure that everything is all straight and those gaps are of equal size. Here's what it looks like from the inside. All that's left to do is take this bracket, put it on here, mount it with all the hardware. All right, all done. All the hardware is in, so this bracket is mounted nice and firmly. Window works properly. Everything's all good. There it is from the outside. You want to do one last check. It looks like just under 5. Just under 5. So it appears to be straight. Everything looks good from this angle. But as you tighten up that hardware, you don't want to do all of it and then find out that you're like 1/8 of an inch off. You just want to put 1 or 2 screws in, come back outside, make sure it's all straight, put 1 or 2 more in, come back outside, and keep doing that. And if all goes well, yeah, you end up with something like this. It looks good. I don't see any of the butyl tape coming through, which is great. I typically don't put silicone or any sort of moisture preventing caulk on the outside, but I will put it on the inside at some point. Kind of all around here is what I'm talking about, just to make sure that moisture doesn't come in. So there you have it. That took me about an hour and a half. Not too bad, maybe a little bit longer with filming. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Otherwise, good luck.